Madam President, I rise today to speak in support of the Marketplace Fairness Act. I was a co-sponsor of this important legislation in the 112th Congress, and I'm proud to be a co-sponsor in the 113th Congress because this is truly a matter of fairness. The Marketplace Fairness Act will allow local, Main Street, we call them brick and mortar, but they're basically businesses, little stores with real people in them, working hard to make a real living. And it'll provide much needed financial relief to state budgets that have been cut to the bone in recent years and are facing even more cuts in federal assistance thanks to what we're just discussing here, the disastrous sequestration with the draconian cuts that are there. Mr. President, this bill isn't a Washington handout to businesses. It isn't a special treatment. It isn't a new tax. It is leveling the playing field. That's all it's doing. It's leveling the playing field. And every day we don't act to pass the bill is another day we risk another small business closing its doors, not only in West Virginia, but all across this country. There's always a lot of talk in Washington about helping small businesses, and rightly so, because small businesses, as you know, in your state, Mr. President, small businesses account for more than 60% of all the private sector jobs. This is small businesses, not the large businesses. And the Marketplace Fairness Act, it's a chance to do more than just talk about it for once. We have a chance to do something. Really show that we care about small businesses. It levels the playing field and gives our Main Street businesses a fighting chance in competing with internet vendors that are not required to collect sales tax. Let me give you an example in a small rural state such as West Virginia. We're expanding and working very hard on the internet, broadband, high speed, trying to get in every little nook and cranny, up every little hollow, down every little creek. We're trying to help the people, and that's great. But what it'll do, it really puts more pressure on the small businesses because now with the convenience, people won't travel. They might not go to the store. But if they want that service and they know the prices are the same, there's not an unfair advantage or a level playing field, the small businesses still have a chance. And that's all we're asking for. Business owners in West Virginia tell me all the time how unfair it is to watch their online competitors offer lower prices on the exact same products. We've heard a lot of talk about that today. That's called showrooming, and that's just basically people shopping. They used to go shopping in the old days. They go to one store and they would compare, then they go over to another store and they'd compare, and they'd work back and forth and figure out whether they had their best deal or where they thought they had the best deal with the best service. That doesn't happen online. First of all, in my state, they have a 6% advantage because our sales tax is 6% in all of our counties. So that's a 6% advantage from the get-go. And in these hard economic times, price is the driving force. That's why this bill has so much bipartisan support. 74 votes, Mr. President. You've been here a short period of time, but you're very observant, I know that. And you've watched very few times that we've got that type of broad bipartisan support on anything. And that's what's refreshing to see. And with all of my friends that come from states that don't have the taxes, and friends on both sides, my own colleagues on the Democrat side and Republican side, what I understand and what I know will happen is, first of all, they don't collect the tax of in-state residents if they buy on the internet. They won't collect that tax because they don't have a sales tax. Now, if they say it's unfair because they're collecting it for me in my state, even though someone in West Virginia might buy from a state that doesn't have a sales tax, but they have an internet business, that's not going to put undue pressure, I don't believe, or unfair competition any way, shape, or form. They still need to use all the services in my state to sell their product in the state that they don't have a sales tax. They're going to use the roads to deliver that product to my customer in my state. They're going to use the people that have been educated through the school system in my state. And all I'm asking for is the fair share, the fairness that we charge our own customers and our own businesses collect for us in our state for those who are using my state as their business to do the same. I don't think that's unfair. I really don't. And I think a majority of businesses don't think that's unfair, and a majority of Americans don't think that's unfair. It's not a complicated piece of legislation. It's only 11 pages. That's pretty short compared to most of the bills we see around here. And basically, it just does what we said. It allows the states to collect sales tax, and out-of-state sales provided that these states streamline their tax codes. There are some restrictions that come with this. They must either voluntarily adopt the measures in the streamlined sales and use tax law, which 24 states have already done, including my little state of West Virginia. Do you know that we were the number 3 state in the nation to join in this fairness movement many years ago? And when I was governor, we worked very hard to work with the other states, and we built up to 24 states that basically were acceptable towards a tax code fairness. And that's really what it was about. Or a state can meet 5 mandates. There's 5 mandates they can meet. They can notify retailers of rate changes. They can create a single organization for collecting sales tax. They can establish a uniform tax base, or they can use destination sourcing for sales tax rates and provide free software and hold harmless protection for retailers. To simplify that, what that means, some states might have different tax codes in different counties. Some counties have different taxes that they add on to their state tax, or then they have a municipal tax. And they're saying that'll be 9,600 different tax codes. It's almost impossible. For anyone to participate in this piece of legislation, they've got to make a decision on one of those five criteria I just mentioned. That brings the tax code down to 46. It simplifies it. So that argument doesn't hold either. The complication of 9,600, and I know it's been used with our good friend from New Hampshire. The beauty of a state without a sales tax that doesn't want to participate. They don't have to. That's the beauty of it. They don't have to. They don't have to participate. They don't have to collect the sales tax from their people, as I said earlier. So they have that option. I know all the arguments against the legislation, but again, I would say they're just wrong. Some critics say this is a tax increase. That's wrong. If I'm paying 6% in West Virginia when I go to a store in Fairmont, Charleston, Huntington, Weirton, Martinsburg, Greenbrier, Lewisburg, wherever I go, it's the same 6%. Only thing we're saying is if you buy on the internet, you'll be charged the same 6%. It's not an increase. It's the same. And I think that makes it pretty simple also. And it really does give our little stores with the people that basically are the same people that we go to participate, give donations and contributions to the Little League. How many times do you see an internet company giving to the Little League in your hometown, contributing to the Chamber of Commerce in your hometown, giving to any of the different fund drives you might have, volunteer fire department? And what we're saying is we've got to do everything we can to keep them alive and healthy. Some critics say online services don't use the local service that are paid for by the sales taxes, so they shouldn't be required to collect the sales taxes. That's wrong also, because I think we just talked about that. They also say whatever product you order online, let's say it's a book from Amazon, or shoes from Macy, or towels from Target. It was delivered, it still has to get to you. It has to use the infrastructure that your state's responsible for to invest into. And that's our sales tax. Sales tax in all states that collect sales tax go into general revenue. General revenue supports a cadre of things, everything you can imagine, from your schools to your roads, to the programs that people are needing, to your senior citizens. It supports every aspect of life in your state. Our little state, when you look at the whole overall, the fact that the little stores and online retailers sell identical products and use the same infrastructure to deliver those products, and collecting taxes that are owed on a purchase at the point of sale rather than relying on consumers to pay that tax voluntarily, as some critics have proposed, would mean $23 billion. $23 billion that is going uncollected. Now that's just a fairness that we're adding to it, just a fairness, but $23 billion for needed revenue in states that are having difficult times. You've heard a lot of people give testimony here today that if their little state gets the amount of money that it would get by having a fair level playing field in their taxes, they could reduce their taxes. Well, that's a good opportunity today in these difficult times. If West Virginia could have collected the sales tax on out-of-state sales during the fiscal year only of 2012, not new taxes, just those already owed to the state, if you took the sales that was done over the internet, we would have put $103 million more in our state's budget. $103 million more. Our budget's around $4 billion. That's a good chunk of money. And we could have used it to do a couple of things. Let me give you an example of what we could have done. With that extra money from internet sales, we could have built 412 miles of new roads. 412 miles. We could have hired 2,000 school teachers with that money we didn't receive. We could have built 5 high schools. We could have built 7 middle schools or 10 new elementary schools. Now, you talk about jobs, you talk about infrastructure, you talk about basically investing back in your state. That's money that we weren't able to do that with, and that would have helped us. Now, when you talk about the e-commerce growth, if you look at the growth of businesses being done online versus businesses being done in retail stores, you'll see quite a disparity. And it's going to continue to grow and put more pressure. We think that this is not going to intervene with the internet sales. And the reason we say that is because of our busy lifestyles. If that's the way you want to shop, fine. But you just won't be able to say, well, I can save money because I don't have to pay the sales tax. It might make you think about, you know what, I'm going to go down and buy at John's hardware store. I know John and Mary, they do a heck of a job. I'm going to go down and see them. Price is the same. I like that local service. I know the money will stay in my local community. They have a fighting chance now. Trust me, we won't put any internet businesses out of business. That won't happen. In 2000, the U.S. economy supported $27 billion in e-commerce, which constituted 9/10 of all retail sales. Over the next 12 years, e-commerce grew tenfold, totaling $224 billion in 10 years, tenfold, which is equal to 7% of all retail sales. 7% now of all retail sales. 10 years ago, wasn't even 1%. Now it's up to 7%. One market analysis projects that online retail sales in the United States will grow by 10% annually through 2017. 10% annually. So when you look at that, from $224 billion in 2012, that'll be over $370 billion in the next 4 years. The next 4 years. And I was just telling you in 2012 what our little state lost and what we could have done with it. Think of all the missed opportunities we're going to have, not just in my state, but in states all over the nation. So, just look at how the internet use has soared in the United States since 2000. Some 240 million Americans are online today. We have about 330 million inhabitants of this great country, United States. 240 of them are online today, compared to half that amount when the century began. So a little over 10 years ago, we only had about 120 million. We're going to have full integration of our internet, which is good. I think it's good. I just want to make sure it's fair. That's all, just fair. As broadband speeds grow, home and mobile internet users will spend more time online, and that means more time online shopping. That's fine too. They just won't be able to say, you know what, I'm going to save 6%. They can't say that up front. That means they're going to shop a little bit more, and that means we have a chance. If I have a little store in Farmington, West Virginia, where I came from, I've got a chance to survive now. Gives me a chance. I don't start out in the hole. I don't start out with my hands in my pocket, and I'm 6% behind to begin with. Google researchers have found that already 97% of Americans look for local products online. So clearly, the businesses back home are at a huge disadvantage in competing with online retailers if tax requirements are unequal. This makes sense. State governments are losing billions of dollars in uncollected sales tax that could build the infrastructure that we all need. Mr. President, I've heard from so many businesses back home in West Virginia, and I can tell you there's overwhelming support for this legislation. And there has been from day one, since we became one of the first states to enter in to the Streamline Compact. That was in 2003, started out with 3 of us, up to 24 states now, and we have a pathway for all the states to have equalization. I own a small business that encourages people to support local West Virginia artisans. This is what this lady says. She wrote me from a small business owner. Her name is Parween Mescari in West Virginia. She says, I own a small business that encourages people to support local West Virginia artists. Because we sell from a physical storefront, We must collect and remit sales tax from our customers. Online merchants do not currently have to collect or remit a comparable tax on sales they make online. That is not only fundamentally unfair, but seriously impairs our ability to be competitive in the market when we have to charge our customers a tax that they don't have to pay when they shop online. Mr. President, I want to commend Senators Durbin and Senator Enzi and all of the senators, and my senior Senator Rockefeller, for taking leadership on this important issue and for introducing the Marketplace Fairness Act. I'm a proud co-sponsor of that because I believe it is fair and it's good for America. I believe this legislation restores fairness and balance to our tax system. It strengthens our businesses. It revitalizes our downtowns. It creates jobs, helps states struggling to provide the services their citizens expect. The measure has broad support in both parties, as you've seen by the votes that we've already taken. It's backed not only by mom and pop stores in Main Street America and merchants, but also by giant online retailers like Amazon. And I urge the Senate to act without any further delay. I thank you, Mr. President, and again I say to all of my colleagues, this is a matter of fairness, and it's a matter of one that I think really restores the fairness in American retail. Thank you.